Ever since I started beekeeping, and I tell people that I've been doing it, one of the big responses that I get from people is just abject fear. They say that they're just terrified of bees and there's no way they could possibly do it. And I totally get that. Up until I started beekeeping, I too counted myself as one of those kind of phobia people. I was stung several times when I was a kid, and mostly by wasps, actually. But didn't matter. I didn't distinguish between wasp and bee, and anything that flew with a stinger, I would literally run screaming away from. You can ask my mom. I would run from and scream, clear up into my 20s. Anyway. And that's one of the reasons I decided to become a beekeeper. I was like, look, bees are fascinating, and I need to get over this fear. I need to figure out how to get past it. And so I decided, well, it was one of the reasons I decided to become a beekeeper, to show myself that I could get past that fear. But be that as it may, I know that there are a lot of people who just can't do that, and that's fine. We all have our different things that we enjoy doing. But, you know, the fact that I do my bee checks, by and large, without gloves, people sometimes say, how can you do that? Aren't you getting stung all the time? And yes, I've been stung, but the stings have taught me something that I think, maybe I'm trying to find too much symbolic meaning in all this, but the times I've been stung have been when I have been careless, not watching what I'm doing. And I accidentally place my hand where it shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be there, because it's their space. I've also been stung when the bees are agitated. Now, here's the thing. Bees don't usually get agitated. I've learned that bees get agitated in times of stress and scarcity. And so those times of stress and scarcity are most often in the spring, I've found out. It's when they're coming out of their hibernation, or not hibernation, they're coming out of the winter torpor. The resources aren't flowing yet, the flowers aren't blooming, there isn't nectar for them. Their honey may be depleted by that point, or they may have very little of it left. Their queen may be getting old, and it's just a time of flux, of change, a time where food isn't easy to access, and the weather isn't great, and they've just gone through a long, hard winter. So it's these times of stress and scarcity where they become very protective of what they do have and of each other. And that's when you have to be most careful. That's when, if you approach them wrong, they're going to come after you. And it's those times in the spring when I wear my gloves and the full get-up. I mean, the only reason I wear this get-up the rest of the year is because I just don't like them in my face. It's just still kind of a creepy feeling to have bees crawling around on your face. But stress and scarcity, then they sting. And I think that's not unlike human beings. I mean, when do we get the most likely to lash out? It's when we're under stress. It's when whatever we value, whatever resource we need, seems scarce, whether it's food, whether it's love, whether it's a kind word. When those things are lacking, at least I know I do, that's when I misbehave. It's when I attack out of a sense of self-preservation almost. And, maybe that's one thing to remember that we can learn from bees is be aware of those moments of stress and scarcity. You're going to get through them. The bees get through them. And the weather improves, the food starts flowing, and then they can calm down. And all I'll say is I'm just grateful we as human beings don't walk around with large, stingers on our backsides, because I can imagine a human feeling stressed or feeling that there's not enough of whatever they need, lashing out if they had one, and I can just imagine people walking around stabbing each other with their stingers, because we seem to have a lot of stress in our lives.